Well, we did a thing. Or really, we did two things. I had someone reach out to me that several years ago I had bought a collection from. And that collection was a lot of junk wax, a lot of basketball, baseball, football stuff from early 90s, late 80s type stuff. And based on the sheer volume, it ended up being a decent deal for me. It was a lot of work, but it was a lower price, even though the work was a significant volume of work. In fact, I'm still actually working on some of those cards, and I still have plenty from that collection that I have yet to get rid of. But I've made my money back on the deal so far. It's just been lots of getting stuff done and doing things like that. So this deal came to me, and he reached out and he said, my father is getting rid of his collection of cards. And that made me a little excited because I thought, well, if the stuff he had was from my, stuff I would have collected when I was younger, then his father's stuff may have been something that my father would have collected. Although my father didn't really collect cards or anything like that, but my grandfather did. So maybe some stuff like that. My grandfather actually had a very large Topps and Bowman 1950s baseball collection and stuff like that he had to leave in Charleston, West Virginia when he moved down to Florida as a child. And his favorite player was Mickey Mantle. So, yeah, what could have been. But that's what I was hoping when he reached out to me and said he had his father's collection that his father was trying to get rid of. So I asked him, hey, send me over a list or some pictures of what all you got, and I'll figure out, even if I'm not interested in it, I will, try to connect you with somebody that may be. And he sent me over the list, and I was a little disappointed because it was mainly junk wax stuff. But it was more hockey-based, like a lot of hockey. Probably 65% of it was hockey. Now, there was some stuff in there that interests me. There was some 89 Fleer rack packs. There was a few 89 Donruss Baseball's best sets. And then a lot of the rest of it was set stuff. There was some wax in there. There was a lot of hockey wax, which luckily the hockey, I was able to reach out to one of my friends that I've known since I was 4 years old. And he is a large hockey collector, and he loves wax like I love wax. He was not interested in any of the sets for hockey or anything like that. There are sealed sets. There are hand put together sets. He was not interested in any of that, but he was interested in the wax, which I don't blame him. That's what I would have been interested in too. So he purchased a lot of the wax from me. Actually, he purchased all the wax from me for hockey. And I sold it to him at my cost. I did not try to make any money off of him. I've known this guy my entire life, just about. And he's one of my good friends. And so I was just happy that they found a good home. Because as you guys know, I don't know a lot about hockey. If it's not Wayne Gretzky or it's not Mario Lemieux, I got no idea who I'm talking about, what the rookie is, nothing like that. So, there wasn't any like 79, 80 Gretzky or anything like that. I think that's when it was, don't even know. So I reached out to him, and he purchased all the wax for me. And that left me with, he did not purchase the sealed sets, like I said, but that left me with a bunch of sealed hockey sets from like 90, 91 score, 91, 92 Bowman, some Fleer Ultra hockey, things like that. And it left me with three sets that I'm debating in my mind as far as baseball goes. I'm debating in my mind whether I crack the sets, which I'll leave this up to you guys, what you think the best thing is. So leave it down in the comments. Whether I crack the sets or whether I just sell the sets as is. Some of it is 1991 Topps Micro Baseball. There were 2 sets of that. Normally, I purchase those myself and I crack them because I'm hunting for a well-centered 91 Topps Micro Chipper Jones rookie card. The best I pulled is about a 70-30 in centering. It's very, very difficult to find a well-centered one of those out and set wild world. But that's one of them. So I'm probably going to crack those 2 and keep hunting the chipper just because I have fun doing that. And I buy the sets anyway just to do that. The other one was some 90 score baseball, which I would be hunting for the Bo-Nose football baseball card in there. Ideally, I would love to pull one of those out of there. I have the card itself already, but I would love to pull one out that would grade very well. That would grade a 10 at least, because if you get a 9 on that, it's not worth it. But the 10 on that, which is hard to pull, is about a $350 card. And I would love to add that to my collection. And the other set was the 89, like I said, Donruss Baseball Best, which I would love to pull one of the Griffies out of there, send that off, get a 10 out of it. Again, few and far between. A 9, not worth it on that. But the 10's about a $600 card, $650 card. So that stuff I would love to crack and try to find a 10 in there. But at the same time, I could just sell those sets, get some of my money back, buy some more wax, stuff that I can open up for you guys on the channel. We'll see. I'm going to leave those for last. I'm going to think on it. I'm going to sell all the other sets and stuff like that I have and then see where I land. I'm going to open up the wax packs and the rack packs for you guys on the channel. So that'll be entertaining. We'll have fun. Maybe we'll find a Griffey rookie and that stuff. But it was a large volume of sealed sets and some wax. So that's just going to be me taking that, turning it around, putting it on eBay, and just getting rid of those sets. It's a lot of volume work, but you guys know I love the volume work. And it will give me something for you guys to see me open on the channel. Now, the second thing that fell into our lap, it's a kind of a longer story, but a long drawn out story, not necessarily a long telling of the story, a long over time. So a few months ago, we had a gentleman in town that passed away. And I'm familiar with the gentleman. I've met him several times. He was a very nice man. And they had an estate sale at his place. And when I went there, I saw a baseball glove, brand new Rollins, heart of the hide baseball glove. You know, it still had a bag with it, the leather bag. It was still in the box, all that stuff. And I ended up purchasing it and then turning around and selling it for a little bit of profit on eBay. And I told them at the time, I said, hey, if you guys have any more baseball stuff, I bought a couple baseball books and things like that, like a Ted Williams book and stuff like that. I bought that kind of stuff. I said, if you guys have any of that that you're you know, that you come across, any type of baseball stuff or sports stuff, you know, I gave them my number and I said, you know, just let me know. I'll come and I'll take a look at it and maybe I'll purchase it from you. And so I didn't hear anything from them. And then about a month after that, they opened up a little shop in town to continue to liquidate the estate sale stuff. They just needed more space and they were trying to get everything out of the house. So I went down to the estate sale, and again, they had more baseball books out, like Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and all types of books like that. So I bought a few more books, and I told them, I said, hey, you know, if you've got any type of other stuff that you're going to keep bringing out, you know, please let me know. I gave my number again. I gave my information, and they said, well, actually, we have some baseball cards that we're not sure what to do with. We're not sure anything about them. It was a couple of ladies that were not familiar with baseball cards and stuff like that. And I said, well, I will gladly take a look at them for you. I'll give you an idea of what they would be worth. And then, you know, I may not necessarily make you an offer on it, but I'll at least tell you what they're worth. And I'm not going to try to lowball you or anything like that. I was like, I'll tell you a price. You guys decide if you want to put it out there for that price, for more or whatever. And so they said they would reach out to me, and they never did. I was hoping it would make a great video for you guys on the channel, me going through it and saying, hey, look at this, look at this. You know, I priced this out for these ladies. This is what they've got. I thought it'd be a cool video, which is what I told them. They're like, oh, we'll pay you to do it. I'm like, don't pay me. I'm like, I can make a video, put it on my channel. That'd be just fine. You know, I was just trying to help them out. And I didn't know how many cards it was, whether it was 10 cards or whether it was 100 cards. Never heard back from them. And then another month rolls by, and they're back down there at the building finishing up the estate sale. And I just happened to see some cards down there, and I went down there. And I said, hey, you know, did you guys have those sports cards? And they said, oh, yeah, we've got them. We brought them up here. And they're like, we just haven't got a chance to get with you to take a look at them. And they're like, in fact, we discussed it. We're not even going to try to piece it out or try to, you know, get every nickel and dime out of this. The family just wants to get rid of this stuff. And they told us the price they were comfortable with getting rid of these cards. And so we're going to just put them at that price. And what they had was a big box, probably a 14-inch high box that was filled with card sleeves, like Ultra Pro card sleeves that held 9 cards. And the first cards on top were like 86 tops and 85 tops. And, you know, then it started going back a little bit to where 79 tops was in there. There was no Ozzie Smith, no nothing like that. So it didn't have every one of the sets. It looked like somebody was building sets out in binders, just kind of, if they didn't have the card, they didn't leave a space open, which is what I used to do when I was a kid. I'd leave a spot open so I could get that card to slide it right in there. They didn't do that. They just put all the cards in there. Now, if they had duplicates, they did put duplicate cards in there and stuff like that. So sometimes you had 2 cards in the sleeve, one behind the other. But they had that, and they said, oh, you know, we're going to do the sheets. They've got 9 cards on them. We're going to do the sheets at about $5 each. And I looked at them, and this person was a Phillies collector, mainly. Most of the stuff was Philly stuff, or a good portion of it was Philly stuff. And I said, well, this 86 tops it's not worth $5 a sheet. First off, the cards aren't in super condition. And second, it's just not, you know, unless it's a whole bunch of, you know, Barry Bonds 86 traded, you know, it's not worth it. And so then I started going through and I said, but some of this older stuff, you know, like some of this stuff from the 70s and stuff like that, there are a couple good players in there and it may be worth it. And then I started thumbing through a little more, and I got into a section that was like 50s, like 59, 56, some 50, 51, you know. And when I say that, like the older stuff, like 50, 51 is like 1 or 2 cards. Now, I know what you're thinking. No, there's no mantles. Nobody really big in there. Most of that stuff was gone. But I still told them, I said, they're not worth overall $5 a sheet. You know, maybe if you go down and there's, you know, a big rookie card in the 50s or something, that sheet might be worth $5. But all these other ones are $1, if that. So I said, I'm just, you know, being honest with you. And they said, well, we were going to, you know, that's what we were going to sell them for. And I said, well, you know, I would say like $100, $200 for the box, maybe, because it was a good stack of sleeves, I would say, at most. And then they said, okay, well, we have these binders over here. And I said, okay, I looked at the binders and I thought, well, let's thumb through this binder real quick and see what they got. And they said, well, we're doing $50 for a binder. And it looked like there was about 50 sheets in each binder, or maybe a little more. And as soon as I opened them up, I realized that they were older stuff. They were vintage stuff. And as you guys know, I talk on this channel all the time how I want to up my vintage collection and hope that I can find some cards to do that. And I looked at that and I thought, this is a great opportunity to be able to up my vintage collection a little bit. And I started thumbing through there, and there were some Hall of Famers in there. There were some good cards in there. But again, no mantle, no anything huge. And I was just kind of flipping through it real quick. But I said, I'll do $50 for the binders. And I was like, and I'll give you, $100 for the box if you're willing to take it. Otherwise, I don't really need the box. That's fine. And they agreed to do that. So for $200, I bought 2 binders with them, $200 for the binders. I got them home and I started thumbing through it a little more. And I was like, well, somebody was building a set of 56 tops. Somebody was building a set of 59 tops. And I started thinking one of my favorite cards to collect is a 1956 Topps Jackie Robinson card. And I was like, man, I'd love it if the Jackie Robinson card was in here. So I started looking through there. And sure enough, I got to Jackie Robinson, to the spot where Jackie Robinson would be. And there was Jackie Robinson, 1956 Jackie Robinson Topps card. Now, this is the problem that you have sometimes with vintage. And this is what I ran into. Condition-wise, none of the stuff was really a super condition. I've only seen one card out of the binder so far, and I really haven't gone too in-depth in them. I've only seen one card that I would consider grading. It was a Hoyt Wilhelm. That was in pretty good shape, a 59 Topps Hoyt Wilhelm, which is not a huge card, but it was just in good shape for being that old of a card. But I got to the Jackie Robinson card, and this was, I don't know if I would say common, but some people did this with their cards. What this person would do with the cards is when they're, and that's on a lot of them, unfortunately, a lot of the cards had this issue. What they would do is if the player retired, if the player got traded, if the player, switched positions or something happened, they would go in there and would scratch it out with a pen. They would scratch out the team name, like if it said Dodgers, they would scratch out Dodgers, and they would write Tigers if they got traded to the Tigers. And they would write retired on the baseball card if the player retired or injured or, whatever. And so when I got to, let me see if I can find it in here somewhere. Yep. So when I got to Jackie Robinson, I was very excited. And here it is. Jackie Robinson, retired, with the team name scratched out. And same thing on the back, which I was very excited about. But, it's still a beautiful card. Like, ignore the scratched out stuff. Like, that is just a gorgeous card. Now, not condition-wise, you can see the corners are definitely rough. And that's how most of them were. Like, I'll give you an example. There was also an Ernie Banks card in there that I was very excited about. But as you can see, it's got a big crease down the middle, really bad corners. That's how a lot of them were. So the cards weren't in great shape at all. And that one, as well as probably 50% of the cards, all were written on, drawn on, stuff like that. So I still think it was a good deal. Just volume-wise, going back to volume speaking, there is a large volume of cards to sell. Even if you sold them all for $1, you're going to make your money back. And there are, like I said, that Jackie Robinson was probably the best card of the bunch, even though now it's drawn all over, written over. And yes, I know what you're thinking. I do have Kurt's card care stuff. I could probably clean it up a little bit. I'm not going to send it in to get graded. So if I clean it, it would just be for me to clean it for my PC and to keep it, which is what I was going to do with it anyway. But I would have liked to have graded it and just had it protected, but I don't necessarily have to do that. However, one of the other cards that was in there, which I will be sending off to get graded, but I don't think it'll get better than a 1 or a 2 based on centering, and that is a Roberto Clemente card. But those 2 cards were the best 2 cards that were in the bunch. There are some other Hall of Famers in there, but those are the 2 that I would say make it worth it in my opinion. So outside of the volume. But that deal came across, and I ended up jumping on it and taking on it. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm hoping I can find 1 or 2 more cards that maybe would be a 4 or 5 in grading, but from what I've seen, I highly doubt it. So let me see if I can find that Hoyt Wilhelm card for you guys. So I can show you this card, and I'll show you, there were actually 2 of them in there. One of them is in horrendous condition. And what the person did in their collection, which I find fascinating, but, it could have been more recently done, but I still find it fascinating, is they would put whatever card was in the better condition, they would put it on top. And then behind it in the sleeve would be the one that was in worse condition. So that's kind of what happened with that collection. So this Hoyt Wilhelm right here, as you can see, you're like, oh, why are you saying that and get graded? I'm not. This was the horrible condition one that was behind, and I'm going to show you the two of them. This was the other one. Centering's a little right heavy, a little top heavy, but I mean, the corners look good. The back looks very nice. Like it's very nice on the back. But like that is probably the best condition one, but you can see them together. This over here is how most of the cards are. This is how most of the condition is like that. So I'm hoping these two collections coming together and getting rid of some stuff, you know, I can get enough money back to where I can start getting more stuff for you guys on the channel, turn a little profit on it. We'll break down each collection going through it. I'll make some separate videos of going through everything, but this is just me kind of wanting to recap to you guys what has happened over the last couple of weeks and what I've been busy dealing with. That initial collection that I bought, the big sets and wax, I had to drive down to Orlando to pick that up. You know, this other collection just happened to be here in town, and so that's a lot easier for me to acquire. But I will be making more videos about this stuff. We'll dig deeper into it. I'll keep you guys updated on eBay sales, on stuff like that. So it's going to be a big, long process that we're going to be going through. We're going to have lots of videos for you guys dealing with this stuff. It's going to be a lot of work for me. I'm going to try to find a better way to film videos. I had to do it on my phone here because my computer keeps cutting out when I try to film on that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Like I said, we'll be cranking on some videos here so we can get this stuff out to you guys. You guys can go down this path with us. It's kind of like my own mini chasing cardboard event, I guess. I'm nowhere near as heavily invested or knowledgeable or make content anywhere near what they do. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. I hope you guys will stick around and enjoy the ride. So thank you guys for watching. If you want, you can subscribe over here and watch another video over here. Like, comment, whatever you guys are going to do. Thank you for watching.